school, because we believe that it's not something we should be shying away from. It's something we need to encourage in our schools. And so I think that's a good starting off point for us to talk about the future of education in Jamaica, what I call Education 2.0 for Jamaica, and what that looks like. And very much at the core of it is STEM. And STEM in two different ways. STEM in terms of STEM methodology, in terms of how we teach every single subject. So focusing on critical thinking is very important, and problem solving is central to the changes in the curriculum that we're doing. And we're starting that from very early. But then there's also the emphasis on STEM subjects. So even if you're not doing a STEM subject, you are still exposed to STEM because of the methodology that we're now trying to use more in teaching every single subject. And we understand very deeply that for a country to move into its rightful place in this global setting, that we have to become a STEM country. Now that means making revolutionary changes to the way we do education in our country. And it cannot be just me in the Ministry of Education. It has to be partners. And I have to use partners in order to get that vision. And the vision is a simple one. It's one where our schools are embedded with technology. It's one where our STEM subjects are taught appropriately. And it is one where our children are given the space to really dream big and to feel that they're a part of something much bigger. And that's what we're trying to do, and that's what our goal is. And it's not trying, it's what we're going to do. And I know anytime you try to have a revolution in anything, there are going to be a lot of challenges. And so I'm ready for the challenges, but I need partners to go with me down this road. And I see some hands go up. I'm glad you're all going to be working with me, and that's important. And as I go around to schools, there are many different types of schools in Jamaica. And one of the constants, though, is that there is amazing talent in every school that I go to. And that's amazing talent in spite of the limited resources that you may find in those schools. I went to a school in Hanover that's been in the news for negative things. Those children in that school are, maybe in terms of the performance on their PEP exams, like grade 6, they get the lowest results in our country. And they're at that school. And that school is doing their best to harness the talent that is there. And so there's the negativity that's out there in the media about what's happening, but it's a special school. It's a special school where they built a new block of classrooms. Every single bit of the electrical work was done by the students. Every bit of the welding work was done by the students. All of the fixing of the desks and chairs was done by the students. And these are students who, in certain circles, you say, oh, these are the ones that aren't academically inclined and they have behavioral issues. Yes, they may have behavioral issues, but they also have a lot of talent. And the question is, are we unearthing that talent that is there? They told me they want to have a new automotive program at their schools. And I said, sure, that's wonderful. And they're like, oh, but we already went and got the money for it. And we're in the middle of constructing a new facility for automotive arts. And so that they can teach the children how to fix cars and all of that stuff around automobiles. And so even in that school environment, which is quite troubled, there is talent there. And they showed me their computer lab and what they're planning to do with those students who just want a chance. And so for me, it's exciting because when I go to the least performing school in terms of exam results, I'm still left happy because I see children whose lives are being changed because of the work of our teachers. And I'll go even further. At that school, the students are coming from households that are very challenged, from communities that are very challenged. The school nurse at that school said to me, many of the children, they're in high school, come to school and they have illnesses and their parents don't take them to the doctor. So what does she do? Every month she takes the children to the hospital for the adolescent clinic so they can see the doctors. So our schools have people who are really committed. Our schools aren't just places for you to do exams. Our teachers are taking on different kinds of roles. And I bring that example up because I'm saying to you that we have teachers and an environment that's willing to do whatever it takes to save our children. And of course we can do more. And I saw you put up your hand, so we're going to do more. But even that school has a lot of talent. Today at Coronaldi Avenue School, with these wonderfully bright children, I walked into our grade 1 classroom and they were doing art. And the art was just at a much higher level than grade 1. They were also doing things that my daughter did in grade 3 and grade 4 in grade 1. And that's in an inner city community. And they're just brilliant children. And then I went to a high school today, and that high school had young men who are just brilliant. They told me about being doctors and lawyers and dentists and doing fantastic things, and that school has produced some of the most doctors in our country and in our region, and that's Cornwall College. But they are doing fantastic. So there are different kinds of schools in Jamaica. And in our education 2.0 for Jamaica, what we want to do is ensure that every single school, irrespective of what level they're at, that they're at least able to bring out the talent in those children. And we know that in all of those schools, technology is central. Because our children want the technology. They want to learn in different ways. They don't necessarily want to read the books. They do, however, you will see students who may not be doing well and you put them in a robotics program and they shine. But they have to have the opportunities. And so we have to put the robotics programs in our schools. We have to put the labs in our schools. We have to be digital first in our educational system in Jamaica. And that's where we're working towards. And so for every child, when they go to school, they should be encountering technology as a base. It shouldn't be just for some schools, it should be for every single school. And so our goal is to ensure that we have computer labs in every school. I went to one school in a rural area where they got a donation of a beautiful smart classroom. And that classroom was actually dedicated to the students who had literacy problems. So they didn't have the classroom that was the fanciest one in the school for the brightest children or the smartest children. They had it for those who were having challenges because they wanted to reach them. And they knew that in reaching them, you had to kind of mesmerize them. And so they looked forward to going into that room because that room was equipped with technology, tons of technology. And they became alive. And that's how they dealt with their literacy problem, by breaking out those students and having them come each day to that beautiful room that they just looked forward to and became alive. And so the technology is there for us to use. And that has to be a priority, and that is one of our main priorities, is getting more tech into the schools. And so for those of you in the private sector space, that can work with us on that, you will get benefits from it, because there's no lack of talent in our country. There's tremendous talent. We just need to be able to unearth it. And so we're doing much more in relation to coding. Our goal is to ensure that every child, so we have a goal to ensure every child can code. That's important. And that is one that we're working harder in. In terms of robotics, we want to expand the robotics clubs in our schools. And we have seen some schools who aren't your traditionally high-performing schools doing fantastic in robotics. When we did a robotics competition last year for World Skills, and we invited our schools to come in, the primary school category was won by a rural school that no one even knew did robotics. They won the competition. And then at the high school level, the team that won was an all-girls team in robotics. And those are the things we celebrate, and we want to see more of that in our country. And so robotics and robotics clubs is a priority also of the government of Jamaica. And so we'll be working with our skills training agency to help us to roll out more robotics programs across our schools. And having spoken about skills, I'll tell you, I also have responsibility for skills. And that's an area where we are completely changing our approach to skills training. In our country, skills training were kind of, it was stigmatized, really. And so you did skills if you weren't academically inclined. And I see some young men who just came in, and I should introduce them. They are from one of the high schools I went to today, and they decided to come and join you here at Tech Beach. Can you stand, young men? Do you see all the buttons on their jackets? That's because they're in every single club you could ever imagine. One is head boy and deputy. Student council head, right? The president of the student council and the head boy of the school. They're both here. I was talking about you before and how you have to do the pass the phone challenge. And so these young men are really the future that we're working towards. And they are going to do fantastic in this world. They've gone to a great school. They have great poise about them. They're awesome young men. And what we want is for more young men to be on the same trajectory as they are. And that's the goal. And so thank you for coming to Tech Beach and seeing all these people. And I encourage you to talk to them. Because this is the talent that is in Jamaica. This is the talent that I know there's wholly more. And that we together are going to work to ensure that you have more of these young men in our country and serving our world more generally. So thank you for coming. Yes, CC. So I was talking about skills training and how we're trying to destigmatize skills. And I say to everyone, when we look on the statistics globally, it is skills that are demanded, persons with skills that's demanded. And so we have to change the way we do skills training. And so we're spending a lot of time with our Heart NSTA Trust in order to put in place the kind of programs that students and young people can come alive in. So for example, our programs, we still do, plumbing, and we have our electrician courses, and we have our courses in culinary arts, and the traditional areas that you would have found in skills training. But we're also spending more time on areas with a lot of tech. So we're doing optoelectronics. We're also doing mechatronics, much more than we did in the past. And we're introducing all of these new areas, even aerial robotics we're teaching. Our robotics program was started in St. Elizabeth. And St. Elizabeth is St. Elizabeth is a farming parish. So why would you put your center of excellence in robotics in a farming community? It's very easy, because we're on an island that's affected by climate change. And our farmers are struggling with climate change. Our farmers also need to use technology a lot more. And so you put your robotics program where it is needed, and it is needed with our farmers. So that's how we made that decision. And it may seem, I know a lot of people think it's weird, why would you put your robotics program in a farming area? But it's because we have a vision for the future. And that vision is one where every area uses technology a lot more. And so when you think about even the aerial robotics elements, if you want to surveil your farm, you use the drones. And then you can also administer the pesticides and so on. You can check for disease using the drones. And that's the technology we're now teaching our farmers. So while we teach hydroponics, we also teach robotics too, because we teach them to use robots to do the picking of the fruit, identifying if the soil needs water. That's what our farmers are learning at heart. So this is a very different kind of world than before, and that's what we want to do more of. I'll give you the example of mechatronics. We never had a mechatronics program, but we understand that especially in an economy like ours, where unemployment is at record low, it's hard to get workers. And a lot of our manufacturing plants are making new decisions, especially as labor is not as cheap as it used to be. And so they're automating more, mechanizing more, and our students need to be able to work in those plants. And that's why we have the new mechatronics program, because we already have several manufacturing plants now in Jamaica that use robots. And so our students have to know how to at least be able to fix that machinery and be conversant with using very high-tech manufacturing processes. And so we've changed that. Optoelectronics was an area that many people are like, what is that? But then Jamaica went to an international competition and got a silver medal in optoelectronics that most people did not know what in heaven's name is that. And every year we have a drone show at our independence celebration. And we bring a foreign company in to do the beautiful drone show. And this last independence at our grand gala, our optoelectronics students were able to help to design the drone show and to help to administer the drone show. Now that was amazing for them to be able to get that kind of experience. And so, when you think of skills training in Jamaica, we're doing it completely different than we did in the past. With our robotics programs, whenever robots would have trouble, we would have to, import the parts for them, the ones that we teach on. So we decided to go into 3D printing as a subject, and now we print the parts for the robots with our 3D students. So what I say to you, and for any investors or persons who are thinking about doing business in Jamaica, we're starting to do things very different. And we're embedding a lot of technology, especially in skills training. And so if you're looking for skilled workers, we are producing them. And we're going to continue producing them at this level. Because for us, improving the skills quotient of every individual is important to the development of the country. And so this is very deliberate, and we are very much committed to it. We're not turning back from this. This is the future that we want to see. So we're starting from very young in primary school, introducing technology there and focusing more on technology and focusing on the STEM and critical thinking and problem solving elements. And then in high schools, layering in more, and also bringing the skills training closer to the high schools. And then at the tertiary level, supporting more of this work. We have a new institution that's working with our heart, which is doing a lot of coding work and software development. And that's one of the most demanding courses we have in our institution. There's a long waiting list for software developers at Heart. And that's because they understand that there is money to be made and there are jobs to be had. Everybody who finishes those programs get hired immediately. And so our challenge is, how do we do more of it? But it's a good thing. It says that our young people recognize where the world is going, and they are demanding that we solve it and we provide the courses for them. That's why that has such a long waiting list, where other courses, we're struggling to find people to do them. So they understand it and they get it. And so for us government, our role, and I know my role, is to make sure that I can deliver for those young people so that they can realize whatever dreams they have. And so when I think about the future of Jamaica, I think it's a bright one. And our Prime Minister recently spoke about our pivot and how we're going to get growth. And very much at the center of everything he said was people, human capital development. You're going nowhere without your people. And so we have to focus on our people and developing our people. And it starts in our schools, and it goes into our tertiary institutions, and it goes into the workplace and the work we do in upskilling and reskilling the workers that are there. I also think that Jamaicans are excited about the future. And I know because, for example, I went to an event. I saw someone who I used to work with in the private sector, and I said, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm retired." I was like, "Oh, what are you going to do in retirement?" She says, "I'm going to Heart to go learn a new skill." That's when I know we're reaching people. When you say, "I'm retired, but I think I can do more, and I want to learn a new area, and I want to learn a new skill." And that is what we want more of. The upskilling. There are people who have already learned things but need more. And so we have to spend time doing that. In the area of artificial intelligence, as a government, we were quite forward thinking, and we decided to have an AI task force, and the chairman of the AI task force is in the room, because we felt we can't be left behind as a country. And our Prime Minister always says, Jamaicans are consumers of technology. We need to become producers of technology. You can't become a producer of technology if your schools don't have tech in there. You can't become a producer of technology if you don't have the right equipment in our schools, and you don't teach critical thinking and problem solving in our schools. So we get it, and we have to do better. And the AI Task Force report shows us a roadmap, which we're taking on board in terms of the areas we do need to address to ensure that our children can become producers of technology ultimately. That's our goal. And so when we look at the AI task force, the work that they did signals that we're serious as a country by setting up an AI task force. We're also serious. We're doing AI hackathons with our tertiary students because they can solve a lot of our government problems and use AI really interestingly. Last year I got invited to an AI hackathon at one of our universities, and a high school team said, "Why can't we compete with the university students?" And they begged to participate in that AI hackathon, and I think they came third in the competition, competing against university students. When I say talent is here, I mean talent is here, even with limited resources. But I'm confident, I'm very confident, that we will put in place whatever we have to in order to get to that Education 2.0, where every school has the technology embedded in their programs, and where all of our children, all of our beautiful children across our country can feel that they're at cutting edge level, that they can conquer anything they want, and that they will take their rightful place in this new tech-centered world that we see. And all I ask is that you come on board with the government of Jamaica in making this a reality for our wonderful children. Thank you.